Hey there, good evening. Nice to see you. Time for the Bronx Buzz. This is BronxNet's program where we talk to reporters and writers and editors, journalists, all different people who write about the Bronx, so you can get some background and some insight, further insight into the various things going on in our borough of the Bronx. We're going to start out this evening with my buddy Emily Swanson, who's a reporter for the Bronx Times. I'm going to add ace reporter because your writing is just wonderful and you take it seriously. And it's so nice to see you, Emily, and
Thank you.
Appreciate you joining us. So this was, I'm going to give the background as I read it. I think I first read it in the Times, and it was, well, the city is closing migrant shelters. They don't believe the need is going to be as great. They also don't want to put people at risk because of the incoming president. And they said they're closing shelters all over the city, but we're going to open one in the Bronx. And I was like, we've been through this for years. What's going on? What's happening? What did you write about? South Bronx officials push back against the city's plan for a massive migrant shelter.
Yes, this was actually pretty funny because the city completely buried that news.
Buried the lead.
Yep, yeah. Completely buried the lead. So far that I didn't actually even see the news that one was opening in the Bronx. I saw this press release on, the city closing 13 shelters in the coming months. They say that, the migrant population is declining. It has been declining every week for the past 27 weeks. So they're seeing less and less need for these facilities. Okay, so I'm like, all right, fine. And then later on in the day, I see in the Daily News that one is opening in the Bronx, and I was like, what? Where did this come from?
By the way, it just dropped out of the sky.
Yeah, I did not read far enough. Lesson learned.
So now this is on Bruckner Boulevard, apparently in the southernmost part of Bruckner Boulevard, Diana Ayala's district. And so what is the plan? And this is happening, right? This is not one of those that it's being debated or anything. This is happening, right?
It does seem so, yes. Yep. So it's from what I understand, it's actually on Bruckner Boulevard in East 141st Street.
And I know exactly where that is. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's right near where I live, actually, only a few blocks away. And
so we can get a comment from a neighbor, as a matter of fact.
Awesome,
okay, good.
Awesome. Yeah. Capacity is going to be 2,200 single people. At first, the city told me single men, but then they kind of backed off and said single adults. And that's quite large compared to other shelters. And they say that it's needed in order to kind of reshuffle and consolidate people. Mostly, they say folks who are going to be leaving the facility at Randall's Island, which is going to be closing by the end of February.
So now one thing somebody I know pointed out that, well, it's good because in this cold weather, we didn't want people sleeping in tents. I get that. But, Brooklyn and Queens got the benefit of having their stuff closed. And I guess the reaction from Bronx electeds is predictable. Like, why us? Why not find a spot in Queens or Brooklyn to do this? So I don't even know how to characterize it, but what are elected officials saying about it?
Yes, well, Councilmember Ayala told me that she is concerned about the size of the shelter and just any sort of situation where that many people are kind of put into one place in sort of a makeshift way. Although she did emphasize that she believes the place will be very much temporary, that it won't be needed for hopefully very long, that she thinks that the city is now doing a better job of kind of controlling like the safety, the environment, and not having major incidents happen. So she was very clear that she doesn't really see the shelter as a threat to public safety. And yet she did say that she does want to visit it just to kind of get eyes and make sure of things, because she said she originally recommended this particular building, which is totally vacant, for use as a shelter, like almost 2 years ago when
the crisis really exploded. Right.
Yeah. And she says the city did not do anything with it until now and didn't consult her before, instituting the shelter. So she's like, read about it in the media like everybody else. So yeah, and that was her point of view. And Councilmember Salamanca has been very outspoken about the number of shelters and affordable housing buildings that are in the Bronx, especially the South Bronx. And he's very emphatic about
let's do the right thing.
yeah.
Now let's be clear. He's running for borough president, so any visibility he could get on an issue like that, I'm sure he's thrilled to do. Also, he's the chair of the land use committee, and it's interesting that it didn't go through that sort of a consultation or process, especially because it's within his borough and his district. So I can understand his being upset about it. Listen, I want to just make the editorial point. We're not against migrants, and it's not that. It's what we want, and I'm not speaking for anybody else. What I'd like to see is the right kinds of developments, and let's make equitable choices between the boroughs, so it's not always the Bronx that has to bear a burden. But the people, the migrant human beings themselves, are not, in my mind, not the issue. They need places. Many of them are coming here to work. We know that whole story. So I just wanted to make that point, that it's not like, we are doing an interview for next week about a men's shelter coming to North Broadway. And that's a whole different thing, because there are sexual predators, people formerly incarcerated. That becomes a much, much larger thing. Anything else to say about it before we move on to something else?
Yep. Councilmember Ayala said that she was very concerned about what you mentioned before, that such a large facility could be an easy target for the Trump administration in his mass deportation efforts. And
then that becomes a target and a legal spot and all that.
Right. And the borough president has said the same thing, that they worry about, having this many people all in the same place. It could become
an issue or issue place. So let's talk about the next item, and that is which is interesting news in a couple of ways, and that is that the city selected a developer for the Kingsbridge Armory, and that developer is the 8th Regiment Partners, LLC, who will oversee the reconstruction and development of the Kingsbridge Armory. What do you think? I mean, I got a couple of opinions on it. What's your thought?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a lot of people are optimistic that something will actually happen now, hopefully in this really big space. Although at the same time, I did see some reporting about potential safety concerns with the two companies, the construction company and the developer, that make up this LLC. And it appears that from some of their past projects, they've had construction worker deaths and other things that are happened on their job sites that weren't so great, that do raise some concerns. And also, just anytime there's a developer that kind of comes in like this and is selected, that means that some others weren't selected, and that some in the community don't feel that this is going to be the best solution. Or at least
do you think that they were selected because of their plan, or they were selected because they, it was perceived that they could do a good job? You know what I mean? I mean, was it the design that attracted the city? Do you have a sense of that, or it's hard to say at this point?
Well, I mean, I guess I don't know for sure, but what the plan, supposedly the developer, put together a plan that did take community input into account to a large degree, they say, and was the result of a lot of meetings and workshops with the community about what do they want to see in that space. And so I think what they have planned there seems to be pretty ambitious and would likely need an experienced developer to take something on, especially that
architect or designer or something, because it's such a huge space.
Right. And the the multiple uses that they have in mind for it, like commercial spaces, community spaces, and the second phase will be housing.
Yeah, I thought the housing thing was interesting. I mean, maybe that's what motivated Dan Garodnick and the people over there at the City Planning Commission to go that direction. I don't know.
Yeah, that seems to be, it seems like a great idea. Hopefully it can be pulled off.
Yeah, the thing that that we must acknowledge is, Northwest Bronx Community and Clergy Coalition worked very hard to put together the Together for Kingsbridge vision plan. And it's interesting, despite all that work, and some of that work was probably incorporated into the ideas here, they kind of didn't get their way. And so while they're being nice about it, I wonder if behind closed doors they're going, this is not what we wanted.
Yeah. Kind of the read that I got from them was very skeptical on, like, we really hope that this developer can pull this off without jeopardizing the local community, without displacing, existing residents, to make it something that truly benefits the people who are already there.
And there were things like an MOU was signed with the previous potential developer, the ice rink idea for green development, for guarantee of jobs, for making sure that only healthy food was served. I mean, I've been in there and I've been downstairs. There's so much space down there. I mean, you could create a whole market down there. I hope all that comes to fruition. What can I tell you? We'll find out, and we'll have the benefit of Emily Swanson following the story as it develops. Emily, thank you so much for your time this evening, and we just love what you write. I love it because it gives me ideas for stuff that I can do on my shows, and really, you just do a thorough job on everything. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Great. Okay, we're going to take a short break, and then we are going to the Bronx River Art Center, one of the best arts facilities in our borough of the Bronx. Don't go away.
19.7% of Bronxites currently experience food insecurity. Meanwhile, instead of these nice, colorful foods, this is the best food that they have access to. If this sounds like you, there are a bunch of resources to get healthy food for free or cheap. If you want to help, you might consider donating or volunteering in one of these places. Community fridges like this one are all over the city and allow New Yorkers to conveniently donate extra food to people who might need it. Go to this link and find your nearest one. Food banks and pop-up events like these provide millions of healthy meals to families in need. These organizations are distributing meals to Bronxites as we speak and are always accepting donations and volunteers.
All right, back with you on the Bronx Buzz. And it's time to talk to really one of the best art organizations in the borough of the Bronx, and that's the Bronx River Art Center, otherwise known as BRAC. And we are thrilled to have a curator with us. It is Alena Alekseeva. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Nice to have you with us, Alena. And one of the artists that's featured in, I guess it's the first show of the new year, and that is Anna Fine Foer. Nice to have you with us. Thank you for joining us, Anna. Alena, let's talk about, it's called Between Collecting and Inspiration, the Artist's Cabinet. Tell us all about like the concept and putting these artists together.
Thank you, Gary. The
Sure.
show is on from January 10th to February 15th, and it highlights the artist's work and artist collection. So each installation of the 12 artists functions as a personal cabinet of curiosities where artworks coexist with collected objects in an arrangement that follows artists' own internal logic. So we tried to show how artists collect and how their collection influences their artworks in their practice.
Well, what's interesting to me is, you know, it's I know a couple of artists, and I'd say, well, what do you have? And some of it may be appropriate or not appropriate. How do you select the artists that participate in this in this particular in any show really, but this particular show?
Well, we got a really huge feedback from artists. We did an open call, and over 80 artists from all
Wow.
over the US applied to participate in the show,
That-
and we got only 12. And my work was to see interest in collections, obviously, but also to see their relationship with artist practice.
And where did the idea come from? This whole idea of like the artist's cabinet. It's an inspiring kind of thing. Where did that come from? What's that about?
Well, originally it came from my graduate research because I, yeah,
Okay, that's fair.
I research contemporary museum collections at the contemporary art museums. And in this particular show, I wanted to expand this idea and not only to show the museum collections or collectors' collections, but I wanted to research how artists collect and what do they collect. and
Okay,
why.
we're going to bring Anna into the conversation, and then before we go, we'll certainly talk about where it's located. We want people to come out and see it. I know I wanted to see the opening, but was not available that particular day. So, what can you do? Anna, nice to meet you. Tell us a little bit about your background as an artist. Have you been collecting? Have you been creating for all these years, or is it really something more recent? Tell us just a little bit about your artistic background.
Well, I'll talk about the collecting part first. The other about my artist journey is an immense topic. I think I'm going to need a more specific question, but I had done a collage series about the myth and lore and science of tulip mania a while ago, which was a phenomenon in the 17th century in the Netherlands that very much relates to cabinets of curiosity and the age of exploration. And so one of the collages in the show about tulips had a section at the bottom where I was collaging made up animals like chimeras. And I got very interested in this, and I decided to start pursuing that type of artwork. And then the pandemic came, and the whole concept of the show morphed into being my version of sort of like a modern collection of specimens of natural history, with the thesis that it's no longer appropriate for us to simply collect these relics, but we have to actively be involved in the preservation of the species. And so I did a huge amount of research about early naturalists and just about species. And
Is the notion of the collages something that you've worked on in the past, or is it really kind of, well, this works for this one kind of thing? In other words, have you been a painter? Have you created other kind of things in the past?
That's an excellent question. Everyone assumes when you say you're an artist, you're a painter. My background is from textiles. And when I was in art school, towards the end of my time there, all of my ideas were extremely image centric, and it would have been what I call a tour de force to try to execute my ideas in textiles. If we had had digital printing at the time, I may have stayed in textiles. So my last semester of art school, in a painting class, the teacher told us to work with collage. She thought we'd just tear up some colors to make compositions and then start painting it. And I ended up working with maps and
and using more. I want to move it ahead so we can get a chance.
Right.
To
And
see
so I
some of the
ended up
work.
working with collage because getting my ideas across was much more expedient. And so I've been working with collage since I left art school.
Got it.
A long time ago, 40 years ago or more.
Let's show some of the work. My buddy Anderson has pictures. Throw one up there. Let's take a look. Tell us all about this.
That's part of the collection. Those are seashells.
Okay. Keep going, Anderson.
That's an emu leg and an emu egg and a couple other bones.
And you found them somewhere?
A friend of mine has emus on a farm.
Wow. That's kind of unbelievable.
He said he actually ate the emu.
All right, keep it going.
There's more of my collection. You can see the collages in the background, but hopefully we'll get a better close-up of the actual artwork.
Will. We'll keep looking at them. There you go. Here's
this one is called Cabinet of NFTs. And a lot of my work is very anachronistic. So I started thinking about how the collected relics of the day, and this, mind you, NFTs aren't such a big deal now, even though some politicians are trying to piggyback on it at the moment. But this was done a couple years ago when NFTs were brand new. Things are brand new. They really capture my attention.
It's highly detailed. Now we can't quite tell how this collage is. It's things that you put up together. Wow. Anderson, can we just run that one again? I want to get a closer look. Look at how detailed that is. That's got to be.
And some of it is real specimens. It was made during the time of the cicada invasion in like 22. So there's real cicada wings in there.
I guess that's good. That's amazing that you did that. All right, let's see something else. What else we got? And
this one is called Mastodon's Natural History. I had read a book about how to clone a mastodon, which isn't really possible right now, but the Russians are trying. But in this image, the mastodon is actually stepping off the plinth and trying to join the real life. And another thing very quickly about this is usually these mounted dinosaurs aren't shown where they were excavated. And in this case, the excavation site and the mounted animal are in the same space.
It also looks to me almost like it's in a greenhouse, which is a fascinating concept to begin with.
Well, there's more story to that.
Let's keep going. We want to get a couple more in there. Look at this one. I saw this one. This is really spectacular.
This is called Birds of Display. Towards the end of my research, I started getting very interested in the way that these artifacts are displayed in museums. And I went to the iconic Museum of Natural History in New York, and people may or may not know there are incredible paintings. The backdrops for all of the mounted animals are true artwork, and it's very well documented. There was one main artist doing all of these landscapes for 30 years.
Anderson, pop it back up there if you would. What is that the letters on the row? It's almost like the table of the elements. CS
it is
55.
Is
that actually what it is?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Very good eye. You're the only person that's asked me about that since it's been on the wall in the Bronx.
Right. But my last question for you is, when you see your work in a gallery like this, with other artists' work, how does it make you feel? Does it inspire you to do more? Do you look at it in comparison to the others, etc.?
That's a loaded question.
Really?
And I'm going to have to be very diplomatic about this. One of the perils of entering a group show is you don't know what the quality of the other work is going to be. So you
Okay.
always hope that you're going to be excited by the other artists in the show. And this definitely happened to me with the show in the Bronx. But I also have to put in a huge plug for Alena. The green color that she chose for the wall was really stunning. It really, really, really brought out my work in a beautiful
That's
way.
good. I have seen many shows at the Bronx River Art Center. It's the first time I've seen anything like that. Alena, so let's just wrap it up and talk a little bit about, of course, where people, it's right there by the Bronx River. It is, after all, the Bronx River Art Center. And talk to me again about when the gallery is open, when people should come in all the time. But let's make the sale. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, thank you, Anna, for noticing the green color, because the Bronx River Art Center does at least 6 gallery exhibitions per year. And this particular show I wanted to make special. It was the first show in 2025. And the green color is dedicated to Paris Salon, when they didn't use the white cube, the white walls, and they wanted to show the work in a really cozy, really natural way. So the gallery opens at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock every day?
Monday to Friday.
Okay.
Please come and see the show. The Bronx River Art Center also offers classes for adults, for kids, and for teens. Come visit the Bronx River Art Center on Instagram, or visit bronxriverart.org, our website. And we also have a closing party. And,
when is that? Maybe I'll
and an
stop by.
artist talk on February 15th.
Okay.
4 o'clock.
Okay.
I welcome everyone. Come, bring your kids, bring
And
your family, bring your friends.
just one quick note, it opens at 3 o'clock. What time does it close?
The artist talk and the party will be from 4 to 6, and the gallery is open from 3 to 6, Monday to Friday.
Monday to Friday. Okay. Listen, we love the Bronx River Art Center. Alena Alekseeva, thank you so much for joining us. Anna Fine Foer, continue making great artwork, and hopefully we'll see it more than once or twice or 5 or 10 times in the borough of the Bronx. Thank you, folks, for joining us. We also thank our first guest, is Emily Swanson from the Bronx Times Reporter. And that will do it for the Bronx Buzz for this week. You know what we always say, if the curtain don't fall, the creek don't rise. We'll be back next week.